What's up, fam? Howdy do. So, I've been playing Poppy Playtime for a couple of weeks now, and I feel like a lot of the tapes that I've been trying to watch and the things that I'm trying to pick up on, I'm not exactly picking up on. So we're gonna be watching a game theory video. So we just gonna watch about, I would say, like 40 minutes of this so I can try to download as much as I can. But yeah, let's get right into it. Let's go.
Doki Doki Literature
It
Club
is my boy
solved.
MatPat.
Bendy and the Ink Machine solved. Five Nights at Freddy's solved. Maybe, then kind of retconned and solved again. I don't know, it's kind of solved. Yeah, remains to be seen. Anyway, today there's a new challenger, Poppy Playtime. And with only one chapter available, this thing is ripe for the theorizing. We've seen children's toys and games trying to kill us in the past, but it's never been anything like this. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where today I wanted to start off by introducing you to our latest piece of merch. Say hello to the Matty Pally doll. Matty Pally, the perfect friend for every theorist.
But hey, that's just a theory.
And that's not all you can say. He's actually full of all the favorite catchphrases from the channel.
I'm coming to get you, MatPat.
Huh, okay. Very funny. Who changed the voice box?
No one did, MatPat.
Okay.
I'm going to kill you, MatPat, and that's no theory.
And we're done with that one.
I bet. I ain't gonna lie, it's going on a little too long.
Stuff. Guess it's just kind of the brand now. But hey, if you like all things creepy, why not hit that subscribe button? If you don't, well, let's just say that I can't guarantee your safety from whatever scary toys you have lurking around your house. Can't really do that even if you do push the subscribe button, but still, pushing that button won't hurt. So, Poppy Playtime, the latest horror craze filling the void of emptiness as we asymptotically approach the release of Security Breach. If there's a formula for indie horror, this thing checks all the boxes. Simple, creative gameplay? Check. Horrific childhood playthings? Check. Mysterious hidden lore sprinkled throughout? Double check. So today we're gonna look at the first chapter
What was
to start
that
piecing
dinosaur?
together what's really going on in this
I
game
remember
and
that
what's gonna be
dinosaur.
coming in the
I
future
remember it.
installments. And let me tell you this, while it may certainly look similar to the dozens of indie horror games that we've seen in the past, this one has
Some
some
of those I haven't
unexpected
played yet
twists
or
that make it
seen.
all the more surprising and the more
remember that
terrifying.
chase.
And I gotta say,
Oh
for the
my
first time in
goodness.
what seems like forever, there's no malicious AI trying to steal your identity to escape their video game prison by hopping into your body. No matter what else this story entails,
good.
big props on being creative on that one. When we boot up chapter 1, we're told that we're taking on the role of an ex-employee of the Playtime company. Finally.
See, look, and that's how you could tell I was not paying attention, because I remember in chapter 2, Mommy Longlegs said something like that, and I disagreed. I thought I was just some random dude breaking and entering. That's what I thought. Apparently, I didn't read this. I thought I was locked in. I was not. So we're an ex-employee. Okay.
Returning to the factory years after everyone mysteriously disappeared inside.
Okay,
if that's not a theorist invite, I don't know what is.
Bro.
What happened? Why are we the ones who remain?
Yeah.
One click into this game and already there are so many questions circulating around. So, to start our adventure, we receive a note informing us that these missing employees never actually left
still
the
here.
building.
Yeah.
Alongside a VHS tape that introduces us to the titular character, Poppy Playtime. A doll with hair that smells like poppies.
The little doll that I don't like. She betrayed me, and she's backstabbing me still currently. I don't like that doll, bro. Get her burnt to get her done.
Weirdly realistic eyes and the ability to have actual conversations.
She is the first truly intelligent doll in the world. A little girl can talk to her. Poppy gives her answers.
Which, gotta say, is a whole lot of red flags right off the bat. I've played enough horror games over the years to know that when inanimate objects start talking to you, you start running in the other
you
direction.
leave them alone.
I don't
That's
know, it's
what
a
I
game.
thought.
What else am I gonna do? I'm curious,
probably
so
should've
off to
done
the
that.
factory we go. Right off the bat, we find a giant version of the popular Playtime company mascot, Huggy Wuggy. Those
that
cold dead
blue
eyes aren't
thing,
ominous
bro.
at all.
Get that
Sure,
blue
nothing
thing off
bad's
my
gonna come from this
screen.
guy.
What is
Now,
Huggy even
watching
supposed to
playthroughs of Poppy
be?
Playtime, there is one thing that immediately stands out. Everyone high-fives Huggy.
High five.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, well, then that means that you did it too. I did something a little different. Please don't go to the first video to figure out what it was. But I was not touching his hand. No, he did not receive a high five, bro. If anything, he has all rights to be mad at me for what I did to him.
High five, man. Let's go.
Even me. High five, Huggy.
Boom!
Apparently, there's just some sort of primal reflex in our monkey brains. Raised hand equals high five.
Yeah,
From there, we
I
unlock the second
thought something
end of our grab pack, we get to build one of the toys, and look, it's that Muppet reject that we met earlier, except now he's trying to kill us. Oh no, who could have seen that one coming? I mean, to be fair, it is a legitimately terrifying encounter. Once we manage to escape the nightmare by throwing him down into the factory abyss, we see a large flower on the wall, along with all sorts of warnings about why we shouldn't go through that door. But
and then we run into Poppy.
Clearly didn't know what they were talking about. We plow our way inside and find Poppy herself resting inside a glass case. Without any forethought or concern for our own well-being, we rip open the case because, of course, we do. Do horror games not exist in these universes? We almost died in the arms of this giant Sesame Street reject. Let's just
point
make
that
our
out so many times in different video games that I play where the plot, like, it needs me to make a stupid choice for the story to go on. And it's like, bro, why do you want me to walk down the alleyway butt naked with no weapon, with no cell phone, in the dark, when I obviously see a shadowy figure telling me, hey, come over here, I'm not going to hurt you? Like, what ordinary person says that or does that? And why would you want me to? I just be like, all right, bro, sure.
It's known to the creepy living doll
helicopters
now.
while I'm walking down the hall.
Poppy's
helicopters as I'm walking down the alleyway, just oos, 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 oos.
eyes open, and we get the final line of the chapter.
You opened my case.
You opened my
That's it. Big old cliffhanger for the next installment. But is it just me, or did it feel like there was something more going on here? Who am I kidding? Of course there's something more going on here. This is a modern indie horror game. There's hidden lore all over this thing. For starters, let's rewind a bit to take a closer look at Huggy Wuggy himself. We know from the opening placard that the toy was made in 1984. It became Playtime Company's most popular mascot, but how do you go from this to this? Toys just don't come to life, unless Toy Story was right all along.
Yeah, Woody.
They don't. So what
Woody.
is this thing? Well, for obvious reasons, I immediately jumped to animatronic. But the game...
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking it was another Five Nights at Freddy's situation where the animatronics got haunted by the souls of the children. That's what I thought.
Actually gives
That's
us
what I
clues
was thinking.
that he's something else entirely. Something
Something
even more
different.
horrifying than we could have ever anticipated. If you're unfortunate
Are they
enough
like
to get
actual toys with the
killed
souls
by
in them?
Huggy during the chase, you get a randomized death screen with a message that ranges from "It's not your time"
not
to
your
"Don't
time.
let them
Don't
inside."
let them inside.
But mixed in there is the chance of you seeing one that reads EXP 1006.
Ooh, see, I wish I would have died in chapter 1. I didn't die chapter 1. Not a single time.
Isn't he wonderful?
Isn't
This
he
would suggest
wonderful?
that someone is asking us what we think of their experiment, the monster that just killed us. This isn't the only time that we see Huggy referred to by this name either. Throughout the game, we discover VHS tapes with recordings from various factory employees. The last one you receive is simply titled Unknown, and on it we hear this message.
Final log in relation. Experiment 1006.
See, and I thought, wait, see, yeah, he says the prototype. Why is that? What? Am I being spoiled here? I don't know.
The prototype.
Is Huggy Wuggy the prototype? I don't know.
Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, though still missing. Today's events are no doubt in relation to him. We must forge onwards in the name of science, whether those who are beneath us understand it or not.
So he's an experiment within the facility that escaped and clearly created an incident within the factory, but this still doesn't explain why I think his creation is different from something like the animatronics in FNAF. Well, in the trailer for the game, we get our first look at Huggy, walking towards us while bits of text flash up on screen. These messages seem to be excerpts from documents of Playtime Co., but before you can read them, most of the text disappears to reveal a new, eerie sentence. But you know I'm gonna pause the video and read all the frame-perfect stuff, right? Most of the vanishing messages cover pretty standard stuff, mostly about grab pack safety. That is, until we get to the 43-second mark of the trailer, where suddenly we have a giant wall of darkened rolling text happening behind the main message. Hold the phone!
there's something about the
Things that are
prototype.
hidden in the dark? What is this, a 2015 FNAF 4 teaser image? So, true to form, I do what I do best. I lower the contrast, I up the brightness, and voila, we got this. Experiment 1006, the prototype. He seems serviceable as the prime example for the type of vessel which we're trying to create. Despite his digestive tract being wired properly, the prototype finds no necessity for sustenance, unlike the others. All
so
other
he's like an
experiments can only
organic,
survive
like,
while
he's like-
subsisting on much larger portions.
Oh,
Huggy-
then that means I really did murk Huggy. Ain't no way you coming back from that unless they can regenerate. Can these
as well as
toys
these
regenerate?
other experiments, has a digestive system. That's not something an animatronic
Yeah.
possessed by the soul of a dead child would need. It
Yeah,
leads
no.
me to believe that Huggy is a living organic creature,
Yeah.
not just a stuffed toy turned sentient. Although, if we're reading this right, Huggy just kills for fun. He doesn't need to eat.
Wait, so he's talking. So I thought the prototype and Huggy Wuggy, they were like two different. Y'all let me know in the comments. Comment down below. Hey, and if you haven't liked the video, like the video. What? Come on, dude, lock in.
Unlike
Lock
the
in, bro.
others. Plus, if we take a look at this scene where you cause the walkway to collapse, Huggy falls into the factory below, hitting
Yeah.
2 pipes along the way. Notice
there's
anything
blood on it.
unusual? Here's the before and after shot to make it easy for you. You see, there's blood on the pipes. Huggy bleeds. He is definitely organic, a literal living, breathing monster. But how are they turning toys into organic creatures?
Yeah,
for
that's
that, let's
my
actually
question.
turn our attention to the perfect toy herself, Poppy. When
Poppy.
we're introduced to her in that initial VHS tape, we're told that she's perfect. She has hair that smells like poppies, which, side note, I looked into and it turns out that poppies don't really have that much of a smell. Unless, of course, you're talking about opium poppies, in which case you're opening up a whole lot of messed up there. In the olden days, opium was used to relax and help you to sleep. No wonder this thing was a hit, especially with the parents, but I'm getting myself sidetracked here. Anyway, the important part of this ad is that a child can have conversations with Poppy and that she can talk back to give answers, which seems like a strange level of AI for a company that was around.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's another thing I didn't question. Wait, no. Like, though he said that she could respond, I thought that was just like a kid's toy situation. She can talk, she can dance, she could do this, that, and the third, right? You wouldn't necessarily think that Poppy Playtime is now just about to get up, hit the jerk, hit the nay-nay, and the whip, do a backflip for you. Like, no, is he gonna sit there and hit one of these? You know, I feel like it's just stuff they say to hype up the toy. But if that's really the case, like Poppy actually like responds, because I saw the thing on her back. I thought they just pulled it and she said voice lines. But if she
During the
actually responded, that's some
1950s
crazy
and
AI for
60s, unless, of
19.
course,
Yeah,
she's
1960.
not an
That's
AI.
crazy.
In the teaser for Poppy Playtime, we see a tutorial on how to look after your Poppy doll. Near the end of the video, the voice box gets pulled out, and we see that it's dripping with
See, look, I didn't watch any of the promotional trailers or anything like that. Maybe I should dive into that. Y'all let me know. I'm probably gonna see it all watching these videos.
blood.
But
Again, leading me to believe that these toys are actually all organic.
Yeah.
But with Poppy, we can actually go one step further and figure out how she's been made organic. You see, the hardest secret to find in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 is a pink VHS tape right before the final chase. If you manage to find it before getting locked out, the tape shows you an interview with a prospective employee, Stella Graber. She's a woman
Stella?
obsessed with living forever, wanting to be more like a child and long.
oh yeah, see, I did watch that one. Yeah, she was tweaking, and I was like, yeah, you most definitely did not get that
to bring
job.
joy to children like her toys did for her.
Your body just gets older
And older,
and then you die.
and then you
Some
die
bodies just can't stay young
forever.
This
She was
tape
losing her
feels
stuff.
really random in the grand scheme of things. Like, why would we be shown this? Well, it starts to make much more sense in the context of living organic toys. Based on the way that she talks, Stella would be the perfect candidate for some experiments that Playtime were running. I believe that they used employees, specifically Stella, to make Poppy, not just
That's a bomb theory. Wait, hold on. Well, I don't know if it's specifically Stella, but wait, hold on. So I thought they were doing it with the kids. I thought they were sickos, bro.
her consciousness either, but used her physical
So maybe
body,
the kids
their
aren't,
digestive
like, involved
systems,
in
their
any of
brains,
this.
and in the case of Poppy, Stella's eyes. It seems like an extreme leap to make, but look at Poppy's eyes in the video. Tell me that those aren't human. You don't just add capillaries to your
I always
cute little
found her eyes odd.
doll's eyes.
I even
This
called
would
her bug
also
eye
align with the
in
whole
one of my
bleeding
videos.
thing. Organic bodies made of flesh and organs that can bleed. It's also worth mentioning that the voice actor for Stella is the same as the voice actor for Poppy.
I didn't read the credits. Oh, yo, MatPat, he just be grabbing, bro. I'm here
This
with you.
may just be because
That's
of limited
nuts.
voice actors, but it also feels like an interesting detail to call out. If I'm right about Stella and Poppy being one and the same, I think it gives us a pretty good idea of what her part is in the wider story. The
Yeah.
general consensus online is that Poppy is gonna be the big bad. I mean, the game's got her name on it after all, but for me, I don't believe that Stella would be mad about being turned into a toy.
Yeah,
I think
no.
that honestly she'd be delighted. She would not be delighted, however, in being locked away in a sealed glass case. Listen to that final line again when we open the glass case at the end of chapter 1.
You opened my case.
It sounds like a confused, but thankful response. By being locked away, she hasn't been able to go out into the world and bring joy to children. It's not much of an existence living inside a tiny box. Believe me, I know, doing this many videos every week, I've become very used to the confined space of my recording closet. Us coming along and freeing her? I think that's gonna be the rescue that she's been longing for. Some of the death messages also lead me to believe that Poppy isn't trying to kill us. Look again at these screens. I need you alive.
I need you alive. It's too early. Oh, so it could be her saying this.
Who is talking to us in these screens?
Well, that was one of my questions.
She's the only other character that we've been introduced to so far, so if it's not her, it kinda has to be someone else that we haven't really met yet. She's calling out to us. She needs us, and it's not just for her sake either. Another death screen reads, more lives are at risk than just yours. Whoever this person is, they're hoping that we can help all of the vanished employees. And it doesn't end there. There's one final death screen to call out. This one, which looks like somebody
I was confused about that. I got that one.
Pressed their keyboard repeatedly, but it actually appears to be Cyrillic characters, or at least approximately close to Cyrillic characters. For those of you who don't know, Cyrillic is the alphabet used for Slavic languages. Places like Russia, Bulgaria, the Ukraine, you know, the countries that give new meaning to the word cold. Who knows, maybe the languages all look this way with the extra accents and swoops because people trying to write them are shivering all the time. Anyway, for it being Cyrillic, it actually looks to be a simple substitution cipher, with different characters representing different characters from the Latin alphabet that we're more familiar with. Notice these two in a row right here, probably EE or OO. Using that as our base and trying lots of different combinations, we can't come to a definitive conclusion. There just isn't enough letters here, but stay, they need help, certainly fits the pattern that we're seeing in the letters, which again hints at the fact that these are people, ex-employees trapped inside the bodies of the monsters looking to escape. All of this points to Poppy becoming our companion. Maybe she'll help us solve puzzles by getting into spaces that we can't, or she'll be able to distract the monsters while we progress,
that's what I was thinking, but no, she just disappears.
Maze.
She just, that's exactly what I was thinking, but she just disappears. She really just dips on you, which is why I don't like her. Wow. No wonder.
Kind of like GLaDOS the potato from Portal 2, but in some small way, I think that she's gonna be helping us both save herself and all the others. So if Poppy is our helper, then who's our big bad? Well, remember the trailer? While discussing Huggy, it mentioned others. So did the VHS tape. We know that Huggy is experiment 1006, which, if this scientist has any respect for logical procedure, would imply that he's actually the 6th experiment they've created.
Ooh.
Sure, they call him the prototype, but he's
gained that... And they weren't wrong. There is other Huggies.
Name because, as the trailer said, he seems serviceable as the prime example for the type of vessel that we're trying to create. So they thought they'd got the experiment right that time, but clearly there were others before him, all with cognitive ability, but these ones are gonna be hungrier. They're gonna be more bloodthirsty than Huggy. And gotta admit, he was already pretty bad.
Yeah,
so
he was already tweaking.
Or what came before? Well, during the course of the game, we're actually made aware of 5 other toys that Playtime creates: Candy Cat, Boogie Bot, Brawn, Cat Bee, and a pink version of Huggy, which...
Okay, so we've met Miss Huggy. Cat B, rest in peace. That's our homeboy. We already know. Candy Cat, I haven't ran into Candy Cat. Boogie Bot, you zesty. I saw a photo of you with your butt tooted up. I don't know. And then Braun's definitely dead from what I saw.
We'll call Ms. Huggy. If Huggy was experiment 1006 with 5 other toys available, I think it's likely that they're gonna be the monsters that show up in future chapters. But kicking us off in chapter 2, I believe will be Cat Bee. Why? Well, because as much as there are references to all the other toys throughout the factory, Cat Bee's the one that has an active part in this chapter of the story. After getting the storeroom tape, we see a conveyor belt, which is covered in Cat Bee parts. Once we crawl through the vents, we end up at an assembly line, where we then proceed to activate and create a Cat Bee toy. The others have all been background characters to the chapter, but we actively create Cat Bee, which seems like a metaphor for the humans creating monsters, and that points me in the direction of Cat Bee being our next big bad. But all of it leaves me with one final question. Clearly, Poppy put Playtime on the map in the 1960s based on the vintage style of the Poppy ad and the fact that the ad is actually in color, which is something that wasn't available until the 1960s. Huggy Wuggy was invented in 1984, after Poppy. So if Poppy was a human experiment and she was perfect, then why are Huggy and all the other experiments then monsters? Well, my theory is that Poppy was a human experiment done back in the 1960s and was a roaring success, but the secret to how it was done was kept under wraps. And as dolls came out of fashion, the company had to evolve, creating new colorful toys like Candy Cat and Huggy Wuggy. We can see based on the toy packaging that this went on for some time. Huggy's packaging is very similar to those of the 1980s. Boogie Bot and Candy Cat look much more like toys from the early 2000s. Clearly, the company company was able to survive for a long time, but it wasn't enough to keep the company afloat, and so someone in the factory decided to pursue new innovations to bring Playtime Co. back to its former glory. Innovation is key.
Innovation
After
is
all,
key.
as we see in one of the death screens. Without any knowledge of how they managed to successfully create Poppy, the scientists get to work trying to recreate the magic. Toys that would come to life, acting like pets for children, bring them joy. Once again, they succeed in creating something organic, but they miss the one human element that made the original Poppy experiment successful: willingness. Stella was the perfect subject. She seemed like she'd be over the moon with living forever as a child.
So the people
However,
who were turned
our
into
scientists
toys
may not have
were
known
forced.
about Stella and what made her, and therefore Poppy, special. I bet you that characters like the disgruntled storeroom worker Rich that we meet in the tapes are people that have been turned into these monstrous toys. He doesn't seem all that pleased with the company making his life difficult, and we know that although they may have a clean, sparkly outward image, Playtime don't tend to treat their employees very well.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
nah.
be too hard to believe that they saw the tape of Rich complaining and decided he needed to be disciplined in a very special way. But Rich doesn't have that childlike wonder of Stella or that natural love of toys, and so when he gets made into one, he becomes a monster. The experiment backfires and starts killing the employees. The scientist locked himself away in the same room that we found Poppy. She was patient zero, locked away in the case to protect and study her, until of course we come along and set her free. There you have it, friends, my predictions for Poppy Playtime. Was I right? Was I wrong? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see.
So, yeah, nah, most definitely he was cooking there. He was cooking. Poppy, I do believe that it could be Stella, if that's her name, if I didn't forget it instantly, right? I think that could be Stella. I mean, same voice actor, she actually wanted to be a toy. It kind of just lines up, you know? Rich being one of the toys that come to life, I don't know about that. And he showed a picture of Huggy of all the toys. But I mean, Huggy is probably one of the only living toys we see in that chapter besides Poppy for a couple of, you know, moments. But yeah, nah, he was most definitely cooking in this one. We're on to the next video. Okay, so it's the next day. I'm gonna keep the lighting the same, so the mood's the same still. We're gonna keep watching. We're on the second video. Mommy's Secret Army. It feels weird calling her that, bro. I'm calling her Long Legs.
Last October, Poppy Playtime came onto the indie horror scene and took YouTube by storm. Felt like everybody was playing it, theorizing about it, high-fiving it. High five, Huggy. Boom!
I did the opposite.
High five, buddy.
High five, buddy!
High five?
I didn't do that.
Let's go. High five. I missed.
So of course, when the trailer for Chapter 2 dropped a couple weeks ago, you blew up my Twitter asking for a theory. So for the last month, I've been digging through the trailer, the merch drops, the secret leaked closed-circuit television footage, all to come up with the answers. And regardless of whether I'm right or wrong about Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, one thing we know for sure, we're gonna be dealing with some serious big lady energy.
Oh, you big. Oh, you big lady.
I ain't never
Hello,
seen that.
Internet.
Mark,
Welcome
I know
to
you.
Game Theory, the show that may not be able to give you a grab pack, but will still let you high-five that subscribe button. And welcome back, friends, to Poppy Playtime, the one game to finally understand how terrifying old toys really are. Didn't really need a creepy indie horror game to tell me that all those American Girl dolls secretly come to life at night. Kirsten's unblinking eyes just pierce into my soul. Duh, it's too realistic. Hard pass. Last time we explored the old abandoned toy factory of Playtime Co., we walked away with two major predictions about where this franchise is headed. First, we concluded that some of the former employees were experimented on in order to create living toys. And not just experimented on, but that their flesh and organs were actively used as the materials to create parts of the toys. Some were willing participants in this, namely Stella Graber, who I
that's
believe
her
is
name.
now the creepy living doll Poppy Playtime. Others were less enthusiastic about the process, and as a result, the ensuing toy was just a wee bit less friendly. My second major prediction was that our game's title character, Poppy Playtime, wasn't actually the villain of the story. Unlike every other horror game in existence, where the title character is always out to rip the flesh from your bones. Instead, here in Poppy Playtime, Stella's human desire to make children happy and live forever meant that, now reborn as a toy, she just wanted to escape the factory to fulfill those dreams. Because of this, I guess that she would serve as our guide throughout the facility as we tried to solve the mystery of the factory's missing employees. And hey, if you listen to the Chapter 2 trailer, it seems like we weren't that far off.
Terrible things have happened. Where do I even begin? You're in grave danger. She's watching your every move. So you better be careful.
I seriously don't like the way Poppy speaks. Like, I don't know what it is. No diss to the voice actor. You do a great job. You do a great job. It's just me personally, after our history, I just don't like hearing her voice. I don't like that doll.
Like guests.
That's Poppy's voice, definitely warning us of what's ahead, so I'm gonna personally consider this one a win! Look, I just gotta take what wins I can, okay? They're few and far between. So now that we've proven ourselves to be very clearly dialed into the storyline for Poppy Playtime, what do we think's coming down the pipeline for Chapter 2? Let's just say that Mommy Longlegs here is gonna be looking much different by the end of this chapter. But to understand how, we're gonna have to look a bit closer. Since she was the big reveal of the trailer, I think it's fair to start there. First and most importantly, yes, her name is officially Mommy Longlegs. I'm not even making that up to ride whatever weird trend gaming's having right now with large deadly women. This official name was actually revealed in, and I can't believe I'm gonna have to say this, but it was revealed in the NFTs that this game released. Feel dirty just
Poppy Playtime had NFTs, bro.
Saying it. Here's the thing, Mob Games, creators of Poppy Playtime, yeah, they made these things and they hid lore behind them, which is totally not cool. The only reason I'm comfortable talking about these things is because the fan backlash was so strong against it and they sold so poorly. Seriously, they made like 30,000 of these things and they only sold like 600. That Mob Games learned their lesson and they've gone on record saying that they are not going to do NFTs again. So we're watching you. I'm gonna hold you to that. Anyway, in a completely awesome move, the channel Terrico bought one of each so that no one else had to, and shared them all on his channel so everyone could see what they were missing. And it did give us important lore information. On the front of each card was a Playtime company toy, and on the back was a corresponding date, which allows us to form a complete timeline of the toy's releases by Playtime Co. Poppy Playtime was the first, released in 1950. Bron the Dinosaur was next in 1961, followed by Candy Cat in 1979. Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy were respective in 1984 and 1985, and finally Boogie Bot was the most recent in 1993. This timeline actually reinforces our previous theory, probably the only thing to ever come out of NFTs, where we guessed that Poppy was the first major hit for Playtime Co. because of how eager Stella was to be turned into a toy. But
which he was right about. He was right.
That at some point the company lost the secret to her creation, which is why every toy that follows her becomes a monster. In addition to forming a timeline though, the NFTs also ended with voice lines reading out letters, with the last of the batch giving us a code that we'd need to solve.
YMLOMMGENCGYS.
Assembling all the letters and unscrambling them, you get the phrase, Mommy Longlegs is coming. Yeah, definitely not a puzzle worth the $90 it takes to assemble all the NFTs. Again, huge shout out to Terrico as well as all the other creators who I saw do something similar with these NFTs and made them available to the public. Okay, so Mommy Longlegs is clearly our next big bad. A giant spider with stretchy legs, but what exactly is her plan? Well, let's think back to Chapter 1. In Chapter 1, we learned that there's been a series of experiments to create these monsters.
Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type.
Huggy Wuggy was the last, experiment 1006, but he was also different. As we saw in the game's first trailer in a split-second lore reveal, Huggy didn't need to eat in order to survive. Quote from the trailer, "Despite his digestive tract being wired properly, the prototype finds no necessity for sustenance."
See, he's still considering Huggy as the prototype. I seriously need to know, is Huggy Wuggy the I don't think he's the prototype. I really don't. That would be a twist for me,
other experiments can only survive while subsisting on much larger portions. And in this new chapter, it looks like we're gonna see these previous 5 versions of Huggy. Here, we see ourselves having to play whack-a-mole against 3 differently colored Huggies trying to crawl out of the pipes. Seeing how many empty pipes are here? Wouldn't surprise me to see 2 more variations crawling out. And just like we heard about in the tapes, these guys probably hungry considering that all the employees of the factory went missing 10 years ago. That is a long time to be waiting for a full meal. Mommy Longlegs is also gonna want some food. When she sees us in the trailer, she says,
A new playmate. It's been so long.
Notice the slight head twitch, the change in her voice as she tells us it's been so long? Yeah, she seems unhinged and hungry. She's just hoping that we are quite literally a fly in a web,
But I have to
just
put her
like
in
the
a
chapter's
pack.
title
She's
says.
dead.
But if these creatures
Lay
need
down.
food and lots of it in order to survive, then how are they all going after a decade without any visitors? Well, for that answer, we actually turned to leaked closed-circuit TV footage that was revealed as part of a past Poppy Playtime merch drop. Because let's face it, once you've had yourself a wildly successful 30-minute gameplay demo for your horror concept, it's not about winning over the audience's trust by getting a fully fleshed out, mechanically sound Chapter 2 out right away. It's about franchising opportunities, fam, NFTs, merch, plushies. Man, I'm just impressed that they showed enough restraint to work on the actual game long enough before the publication of their first novel trilogy. Anyway, when this merch website went live, it came with 3 different CCTV camera feeds from inside the factory. We can tell that this is a live feed because camera 01's in the main auditorium where we first see Huggy, but Huggy is noticeably missing. So these feeds are clearly leaking after he tried to maul us to death in the vent system. In the beginning, these camera feeds were just kind of there, nothing all that exciting. But after 10 days, things started to happen. On camera 01, a broken and bloody cat bee toy appeared in the middle of the room. The blood isn't super surprising given the whole people are toys thing that we already talked about. Bloody toys were strewn across the factory in Chapter 1. The interesting part is actually what happens next. Another 3 days go by and suddenly the cat bee toy is missing with a trail of blood leading out into the
So they're eating each other.
darkness. Around the same
Cannibalism.
time, we
Oh
see
my
this image of a
goodness.
spaghetti hand coming out of the machinery. These details,
Oh.
plus the fact that we see Mommy Longlegs drag a Huggy Wuggy doll into the darkness at the start of the Chapter 2 trailer, tells me that the
You know what? That would make sense.
larger monsters are
Does that
feeding
count
off
Huggy
of
Wuggy?
the
I
other
feel like
toys.
Huggy Wuggy's
Remember,
too much
some,
of
or
a-
maybe even all of the
wildcat
toys
to
are
be
made from
tamed.
people. That's why they leave behind pools of blood when they're injured. As such, they can all serve as healthy snacks to keep Mama alive. In fact, we actually see pieces of Brawn and Boogiebot hanging from the webs around the factory, much like flies trapped in a web about to be eaten by the spider. We also see this caterpillar enemy chasing us through a jungle gym setup. Wouldn't be surprised if
Why you look like that? Is that what you used to look like before? Yeah, they did that boy PJ Pugapillar dirty. Look at that.
Mommy winds
That
up
is
devouring
nasty, bro.
that thing too, like a spider eating an insect. All of that just tiding
wasn't
her
really
over
worse.
until she can finally get herself a proper meal, us. But for all the spider imagery, there's one weird detail. Mommy Longlegs only has 4 legs. I mean, even my favorite Pizzaplex spider, Music Man, he had 6.
I don't know who
but
that
I
is.
think that her 4 legs act as a clue for what's gonna happen to her throughout the chapter. Mommy Longlegs was clearly inspired by the real-world toy of Betty Spaghetti, a toy that
Betty
was
Spaghetti.
huge during the late 90s and early 2000s. She too had rubber limbs and hair that you could manipulate,
Oh, so
but the
they were
key part was
cooking.
that she was customizable. And I don't mean that you could just style her hair. Her body parts and hair were actually removable and swappable. For instance, her ponytail could be swapped out for slinkies or yarn. And of course, you could accessorize to your heart's content. If Mommy is taking these broken toys and eating their organic insides, maybe she's also collecting the fabric and plastic bodies to create more limbs that'll make her stronger. Add
See, that's a good theory, and I wish they did something like that, but no, they didn't. But yeah, no, there was a part in the chase where her arms and like legs were everywhere. Maybe she did do that. It was just like an off-camera thing. But yeah, no, I wish they did something like that.
sides, maybe she's
She
also
does give
collecting
spider
the
vibes.
fabric and
She should
plastic
have more
bodies
limbs.
to create
That would
more
probably
limbs
be
that'll
way
make
more
her
terrifying
stronger.
than
Add
just her
to her
core.
arm count. In fact, in the trailer, there's a small detail that I bet most people overlooked. There are these small little dots on Mommy Longlegs' arms and neck as she crawls towards us.
I
It's
didn't
not
notice
a
that.
rendering or modeling issue. That is just like the dots that we see on the Betty Spaghetti dolls. Dots that help with the toy's customization. In short, if you think that Mommy is threatening now, just wait until she puts on the rest of her arms and starts filling out those holes with equipable accessories, like a Boogiebot head that's ready to cave your skull in. Other things to point out here from the trailer, obviously the caterpillar, like I mentioned. There also seems to be a flower enemy hidden up in the ceiling. The
Whoa, flower? Was that supposed to be Bunzo? Oh, so this was their original designs. They just redid everything.
Huggy
We had
see Mommy
Bunzo.
grab at the beginning of the trailer isn't
And
the
that
Huggy
caterpillar
that
looks
chased us
ugly.
from
They
chapter
did that
1.
with
You'll
dirt.
notice there's no blood on the floor and it's small size relative to the size of the floor tiles, so this thing is likely a random Huggy doll that's used for effect. But before we wrap things up here, there's still one more topic that I wanted to focus on today, and it's the character that we actually started this whole theory off with, Poppy. Well, the internet's been distracted with Mommy Longlegs. Poppy is still here, and she's talking to us throughout the entire trailer. And what she's saying, or more importantly, what she's not saying, may actually be pointing us to the main plot of not only this chapter, but the entire game. As I pointed out earlier, Poppy seems to be guiding us throughout the game, but just because she's helping us doesn't mean she's actually the good guy. Take a listen to these 2 lines from the trailer.
You are perfect.
Yeah, she says that on the train. Too perfect to lose. See, like, I'm not gonna lie, watching the trailer, that could be misleading and make you think, oh yeah, she's evil, she's gonna do us dirt. Nah, she's just selfish, bro. That's what it is, dog.
Poppy saying we're too perfect to lose lines up with what we theorized about last time, that she's the one talking to us throughout the death screens.
Yeah,
it's not your time to die, don't die just yet, it's too early to die. All these screens show us that Poppy wants us alive, but her reason for that seems unclear. Sure, throughout chapter 1, we got notes and death screens that seem to be focused on us saving the missing employees. There's more lives at risk than just yours and all that. But in this new trailer, there's something uneasy about Poppy's tone, something obsessive. It's like she's planning something that we aren't aware of. We theorized last time that all Poppy wanted was to be free out in the real world to bring joy to children. But what if we were only half right? Just because she wants to bring joy to children doesn't technically mean that she has to leave the factory. What if Poppy is trying to bring the factory back to life? At the very beginning of the game, we get a note telling us to come to the factory and find a poppy flower. But after finding the flower, all the literal writing on the wall tells us to not go in. Why would we get a letter from the employees telling us to find the flower only for them to then tell us to stay away once we actually get there? It doesn't make sense. It only makes sense if that first letter is from Poppy. Notice those spelling and grammar mistakes? That letter is from her. It was sent to us to lure us in. She wants us in this factory.
Wait, no, but how would she? No, never mind. Take that back. How would she even send that if she was in the box? All right, Matt, calm down. Matt, and why would she send it before? Yeah, nah. Good.
Needs us in this factory.
That was a miss.
Listen again to our lines from the trailer.
You are perfect. Too perfect to lose.
She describes us as perfect. In the death screens of chapter 1, she calls Huggy wonderful. He's good, but he's not perfect. Poppy must therefore be aware that both Huggy Wuggy and Mommy Longlegs are the failed attempts to recreate the magic of her own birth. But someone who came back to the factory despite the horror stories? Someone who came back with a good heart that wanted to help those who were trapped? That is suddenly someone that she can work with. As far as we know, Poppy's the only experiment to truly work. The only toy that managed to not turn into a monster through the toy conversion process. And if she truly wants to spread joy to all the children of the world, it would make sense for her to want to restart those experiments, to turn the factory back on, to create more living toys like herself.
See, now I can see that. You're cooking there. You're cooking there. I could see that. Nah, yeah, I could definitely see that.
But it all needs to start with one pure soul. It needs to start with us. That's why she doesn't want to lose us. Not just because we can free her and remove the obstacles standing in her way, but because in her eyes, we can become the new Patient Zero. We can be the Ken to her Barbie. My guess is that after surviving chapter after chapter of toy-related horror headed our way, in the end, Poppy is gonna turn on us. She's gonna betray us. She's gonna turn us into the next generation of toy. By winning the game, we ultimately lose. But hey, well, Mob Games wants you to invest in NFTs to unlock the lore of this game with our sponsor today, Public.
I didn't see that coming. Oh my goodness. My bad. L Snipes. Oh, the video's already over. Okay. The monsters in the shadows.
It's been so long. So good to see you again. Well, not good, really. Don't say anything. Mommy knows.
I don't like her voice. Quit speaking to me like that before I smack you.
Hey, that's just a theory, right? A theory.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that's been popular for 11 years but still hasn't landed a movie deal. Don't know why I felt like mentioning it here. On a completely unrelated note, a few weeks ago we finally saw the release of Poppy Playtime Chapter 2, Flying a Web. And this thing was longer than a tech demo, so hey, big wins over Part 1. But no, the team wasn't content to stop there. Poppy Playtime's newest chapter went above and beyond, requiring players to master not just one, but 2 different gameplay styles. Whack-a-mole and Simon Says.
Blue, yellow, we're violet.
Every
So I
game
wasn't the
is
only one freaking out. Bro, I could not do
required to have a
that.
Simon Says segment for some
Simon
reason.
Says
I'm
was
of
like,
course
oh
being
my
facetious
goodness.
about the whole thing. This new chapter actually offered a lot of awesome stuff. Cool puzzles, thrilling chases, and an oversized plush toy failing to pull a lever. The animation is so adorable. I could sit here and watch that all day. Oh, and there are also collectible trophies now. Really challenging collectible trophies that'll push you to the limits of your gamer senses.
Any secret trophies or anything that we see up here?
Any secret trophies?
It's right here in front of you. Yeah, I've seen in a couple of my recordings, I missed some, bro. I've seen, and it would be like right in front of me. I'm just like, dude, it was right there.
But we all know
Like,
why
what are
we're
you
really
doing?
here. It's not for the gameplay innovation or the collectibles. It's for the hidden notes and cryptic clues. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves some lore to decipher.
go.
And spoiler alert, Poppy isn't who we thought she was. First, here's what you need to know to understand today's theory. Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 focused on us, the player, returning to an abandoned toy factory in order to save some employees that went missing there 10 years ago. We're told via a mysterious note that we have to find the flower. Several puzzles and one giant Muppet chase later, we find the flower in the form of a giant wall mural of a poppy. Inside is a replica of a house and a doll named Poppy Playtime, locked away inside of a glass case. And of course, we set her free without a second thought because players in video games have never seen a horror movie before. Anyway, Chapter 2 picks up immediately afterward. Poppy agrees to help us activate a train that'll help us get out of the factory. So much for wanting to help save those missing employees, but hey, if a creepy talking doll starts offering me ways to not be around the creepy talking doll, I'm gonna take that offer. But of course, things are never quite that easy. Mommy Longlegs, a giant stretchy toy spider, takes Poppy hostage and forces us to play 3 minigames in her game station in order to unlock each part of the train's code. Eventually, we break out of her games, which causes her to go complete sicko mode and chase us through a narrow escape sequence.
So I didn't know she was chasing us
something
like
that
right there and
before.
then
In
as
the
well.
end, she gets caught in a grinder and her remains are
and we
dragged
put her in
away
a
by a
bag.
mysterious claw. We rescue Poppy, get on the train, but surprise, surprise, she betrays us, crashing the train and forcing us even deeper into the factory. So those are the highlights from the chapter, but we're still left with a lot of overarching questions. Who are we? Where are these missing employees we're so concerned about? What's the true nature of the toys, and who's secretly pulling the strings behind them?
See, I believe that that's the prototype, but if that is Huggy Wuggy, and Huggy Wuggy is the prototype, I could be wrong, but I don't think Huggy's the prototype.
All of this.
I kept
Well,
saying
I
that.
think I have the answers to each and every one of those questions, and the last one is probably the best place to start.
Who's
As
pulling
I
the
just talked
strings?
about,
I
after
believe the
defeating Mommy,
prototype.
we see her remains get dragged away by a mysterious claw.
That could be-
No, not Burn Trap's claw, but also, yeah, kind of Burn
Yeah,
Trap's
kinda.
claw. You see, the hand we see pull Mommy away is very different from all the other designs that we've encountered in the game so far. Most of the toys that we fight are brightly colored, made of plastic or fur, and, you know, look like actual toys. This thing, though, is dark, mechanical, and could poke your eye out. It's like an erector set on steroids. And that's not all. If you zoom in and enhance the image of the claw, you can actually make out that there's organic material mixed in there. Bones and maybe even some veins mixed in with the metallic parts. So yeah, the comparison to Spring Trap, Burn Trap, call them whatever you want, it isn't that much of a joke. But what is this biomechanic hybrid doing within the context of Poppy? Well, back in Chapter 1, we discovered the final VHS tape which cataloged the results of Experiment
So I was
1006,
thinking, yes, that's gotta be the
nicknamed
prototype. It has to be.
Final log. In relation, experiment.
Yeah, because they say that
10.
he's wired, and he has like wires for veins. Come on now, like, come on, dude. I knew I was there. Matt, you missed with that one, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
The prototype. Coordination and cooperation is evidently within his skill set, as well as the skill set of all other experiments of his type.
This, along with a death screen that said Experiment 1006 isn't he wonderful, led us to believe in a previous theory that our big blue boy Huggy Wuggy was the prototype, since,
but
you know,
it's
was
not.
kind of the only character that we met in Chapter 1, Occam's razor and all that. However, take a look at the hand on the TV screen that we see during that VHS recording.
I
Look
didn't
familiar?
notice
We see that
that.
hand appear
See,
again in
look.
yet another VHS tape in Chapter 2.
Log code 08502. In relation, experiment 1006. The prototype. The prototype seems to possess an unprecedented level of intelligence, beyond that of all other test subjects, as well as an alarming willingness to commit violence. Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome.
Oh, see, look, MatPat, they saw your video and they were like, no, we gotta correct you. Experiment 1170
Due
is
to his sufficient intelligence, paired with maximum obedience.
1006 is the
Obviously, this
prototype.
outright tells us that Huggy isn't Experiment 1006, and that it's
Yeah.
instead the owner of this mysterious claw. So that's what the prototype is, but what makes it so special? Well, during that same VHS tape, we also hear how the prototype takes apart an alarm clock and uses it to make a laser pointer. In short, it's smart and it's able to repurpose things, which would explain Mommy's concern in this moment.
What have you done? You make me part of you!
She's gonna be
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, that's terrifying. Why do I feel? I don't feel bad. Put her in a pack. But like, dang. Oh, that's yo. Okay, this game just got way more terrifying. I don't think I was paying attention. I thought I was just slaughtering monsters, bro. It got a lot darker. The prototype's gonna make her part of
used
him.
and repurposed by this
that's
entity in
nuts.
order to help the monster escape. Kinda
goodness.
makes you wonder if the veins and bones were how this creature was originally designed, or maybe that's what happened to all the other missing employees. Their bodies were added
And
to
you know
the
what? It doesn't even help that in the same clip where I kill her, I told him that she forgot her foot.
Right hook! Right hook! Left hook! Right hook! Left hook! No! Go in! Go in! Go in! Go in! Go in there! Yeah!
ItzYami! Quit playing with me! Oh, what is that? I think you forgot her feet. You should come back and get her feet, because I'm done with her. Yo, I'm just throwing assists to the villain. I'm
It's interesting. In our last theory, we predicted that Mommy Longlegs would be adding the bodies of dead toys to herself in order to become stronger. We were right
throwing
about
them
the
lobs.
concept, just
Oh
looks
my
like we were
goodness.
wrong about who it applied to. As for how this thing is gonna wind up looking, anyone remember Sid from Toy Story 1? Sounds like
Yeah.
we might have found one of his creations. So
Oh my
right now it
goodness.
looks like the prototype 1006 is gonna be our overarching villain for the franchise, taking
Yep.
pieces and parts of the other toys, and maybe even pieces and parts of other people to grow stronger. That being said, one toy that doesn't appear to have been added to the prototype yet is Huggy Wuggy. He may not have appeared explicitly in this chapter, but hints of him are hidden around. When you go into the chapter's water treatment room, if you look carefully, you can see some blue fur that's scattered.
I did that puzzle and I was stressed out about it, but I hadn't noticed that, and I thought I was analyzing too.
Around the
Oh my
pipes
goodness.
along-
You know what? I gotta be. You know what? We're in the middle of chapter 3. The next time we record chapter 3, I'm about to be
Inside
analyzing
trails
like
of
MatPat
blood.
for
This
sure.
appears to be the room that
Nah, I
Huggy
can't do
fell
that. It's gonna
through
make
at the
the
end of the
video too
last
long.
chapter,
Y'all not
and
gonna
would
enjoy
seem to
watching
imply that Huggy picked himself up and went full-on sus
Nah, I'm
mode
gonna try
by
to pick up
venting
on
away, waiting to return until a future chapter. Which honestly makes sense. He can't die yet. He's basically the mascot of the franchise. Who even cares about Poppy at this point? I mean, me. I do, because lore, but I feel
I
like
don't
I'm
like her.
definitely in the minority on that one. Speaking of Poppy, let's talk about her, shall we? I mean, it is her name on the title screen after all. This isn't Kissy Missy Playtime or Cat Bee Playtime, you know? Well, mere
should be Cat
hours
Bee.
after Chapter 2 came out, the fan community did what the fan community
Cat
gonna
Bee.
do. They dug into the game files. And by doing so, they discovered an early build of this chapter hidden away. And while the game itself is still basically the same, the end is where things get real interesting. Normally, you get on the train and Poppy gives you this sinister speech about how you're not allowed to leave. She betrays us and sends us hurtling deeper into the factory for reasons that are kept pretty darn vague.
Yep.
Terrible things have happened. But I know that whatever
I need you to do. You can do it.
you're capable.
Oh, you are capable. That's
However,
what she
in the
said.
cut version of this monologue, we actually get a bit more detail on her motivations.
You have so much potential. I know you came to find the ones who had disappeared all those years ago. But they're gone. They've been gone for a long time. Terrible things have happened. And I am the cause. Being able to exist as a doll, it has killed so many people.
Now, interpret.
I'm not trusting that little doll. Not after this. No, not after this. Well, they cut it. Maybe they wanted to change the story, and that's why they cut it. They didn't want her to be the big bad. But no, bro. After that, after hearing this, No! No.
Cut content is always going to be a tricky science. Do you use it? Do you not? How do you use it?
could be
Here,
not
I'm only
canon.
pointing it out because this seems to confirm
See,
one of our
dang
original
it, bro.
theories,
I
that
don't know
Poppy
the-
is
I
the
can't-
reason all of this is happening. She
Oh my
literally
goodness.
says that because she was able to exist as a doll, people
It has
died,
killed
which
so many
tells
people.
us
Oh,
two
maybe
things.
that's her being like guilty. Maybe that's like her because I mean she got turned into a doll. It's something that she wanted. It was a success. Humans, you know how they get. They're greedy. They don't know when to stop or when to get to an ending point, so they just kept going. She witnessed it all and is now feeling guilty about it. I've killed so many people, me existing as a doll. Maybe it's not an evil message. Maybe she's just saying it in a creepy tone, but it's like still,
that she's
bro,
been
I
around
can't
since the
trust
very
that.
beginning. She knows about the experimentation that's being done on humans. She's witnessed it all.
Yeah. I was the first. I have seen
Yes, FNAF, we
everything.
hear you. You're very special. You did it first. Secondly, though, it seems to tell us that Poppy isn't who we originally thought. Loyal theorists will remember that last time we predicted that former employee Stella Graber was the person whose body and spirit were used to build Poppy. In Chapter 1, we found a VHS tape talking about her desire to stay young and her love of children, which all but seemed to scream, "Make me into an undying doll monster." However, after the clues seeded out in this chapter, we know for a fact that she's no longer a candidate. When we first enter the game station, we're greeted by Stella's voice.
Hi, kids. Welcome to the game station.
I didn't know that was Stella. Wait, so Stella's not Poppy? Who's Poppy? Wait, that's crazy to know that. Wait, no, I was getting along with Stella that entire time, bro. Maybe they just share voice actors, and it just seems to be, you know.
I'm
okay.
Stella, and we've got 3
Oh, I didn't. Oh my goodness, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, bro. I think I forgot her name at that time, bro. Hi,
Her name
I'm
also
Stella.
appears on the
I
bottom of
remember
a
her saying
document
that.
outlining how to test children using the various game station modules. Quote, give all reports to
To
Ms.
Miss
Stella
Stella
Graber to
Graber.
sort through. So
Oh
Stella was
my
clearly
goodness.
involved with whatever experimentation was going on at Playtime.
Oh,
And
so then she was, no, yeah, get rid of her, bro. Oh, then that means, wait, now that I'm thinking about it, and I thought her being turned into Poppy, we were gonna team up, we were gonna be cool, and maybe it's just my trust issues, but no. Now that I know that that's not Poppy, and now that I know that even Stella is on some creepy, unhinged, like, activities, yeah, no. Yeah, no. I'm not trusting a doll. Get her out of here.
since these experiments were
I'm
started
burning
because
that.
the
If they
living
give
doll
me an
Poppy
option,
existed in the
if they hit me with a telltale option and they're like kill Poppy and escape the factory or continue to help her, she's going. I don't care what the situation is, bruh.
first place,
I don't care
Stella
what it is.
can't be Poppy.
She's dead,
In
she's
that same
gone.
document, we also see references to Mommy Longlegs. Now, if you
She's
look
dead and
closely
she's
at the Mommy
gone.
Longlegs commercial
I'm
that
sorry
plays
to
at
all
the
the
top of the
viewers.
chapter, you can see that it's dated 1991. Poppy was meant to be the first living toy developed back in 1950.
Yeah.
Therefore, if Stella was alive around the time of Mommy Longlegs, then she couldn't possibly be inside Poppy.
Oh,
so if Poppy isn't
okay,
Stella,
okay,
then
okay,
who
okay.
is she? Well, early in chapter 2, we visit Elliot Ludwig's office, founder of Playtime Co. It's here that we learn that he experienced a tragic family loss sometime in the 1960s.
In the 1960s, an unfortunate family death had pushed Ludwig down to his lowest.
This loss is what spurred him to work harder and build an empire around his toys. Now, it's not actually clear who this family member was. You would suspect his kid, right? Kid dies or is dying and he finds a way to make her into a living toy. Yeah, I am broken.
no,
I will put
FNAF.
you back together. Thank you, FNAF. Go and do something
We
else
know,
with your
FNAF.
life.
No.
Make your lore more sensible. Stop trying to butt into other people's narratives, okay? Other people's very similar narratives. Anyway, as I was saying, you would suspect that he's doing this for his kid, right? And that's who Poppy is. It's his daughter. But there's a wrinkle to that, and it's not coming from
That's a strange pull. You can't just say that casually that Poppy is his daughter. You can't. No, see, look, MatPat, you just pulling, bro. You just pulling, bro. You just grabbing, MatPat. You can't do that. But I get it though. I mean, that's how
but
this
rather
works.
the game's website.
We're
You
gonna
see,
make some
we know
assumptions.
via a newspaper article hidden on the About section of Playtime Company's merch website that Elliot's wife divorced him in 1930. This means that if a child came from that relationship, that biological son or daughter would have been in their 20s or 30s when Poppy was created. It seems a bit old, to be honest.
Yeah.
The loss could have been a grandchild. That's definitely a possibility. But for me, I think the most likely option was that it was an adopted daughter. In Chapter 1, we see a lot of posters hanging on the walls talking about
Orphan
Playtime
today.
Co.'s
And he created
Adoption initiative. What if that program was initially started because Elliot had an adopted child himself, and he wanted to bring that joy to other families, thereby modeling it in those Playtime company values. And then when his daughter dies or is suffering, he, has to find a way to put her back together. So his adopted child dies tragically, and he tries something to revive her, probably by fusing her with Poppy. And it works. Something he does works. She's in the doll, but he's not exactly sure what he did. Might I suggest trying Remnant or Agony? Sorry, now I'm just going out of my way to do it. Anyway, we know that he's unsure based on a note that we find in Elliot's office in chapter 2. This note talks about experiment 814, in which they try to bring rats back to life using the poppy flower. My suspicion is that this is because he was somehow able to revive his daughter inside of Poppy, a doll who we're told has the essence of poppy flower built into her hair. This is also why we find Poppy hidden in a glass case. It's so his daughter can be preserved, protected, and also studied. It's because he saw it was possible, and then he went on to repeat it, which is why he's so happy about his wonderful experiment 1006, the prototype. After nearly 200 additional experiments post poppy flowers and rats, this is where he finally cracks the code. He's brought things to life, but the prototype is too smart. It escapes and doesn't obey orders, sending the factory into chaos. This is why we hear that Huggy Wuggy is actually the perfect creation, because he's smart, but he's also obedient.
Experiment 1170, Huggy Wuggy, remains the optimal outcome due to his sufficient intelligence paired with maximum obedience.
And that, my friends, is
Wait, then that means somebody, whoa, let's talk about that. Then that means Huggy Wuggy was sent to get us. Huggy Wuggy was sent to attack and get us. Who did that? Never mind. Already answered. I mean, the prototype.
Story of how everything started at Playtime. We now know that Elliot Ludwig's adopted daughter is likely the entity inside the Poppy doll, and that our overarching villain for the series is the prototype, the first successful recreation of that technology, of bringing something back to life, a toy that steals and uses the pieces and parts of other things to make itself stronger. But there's still lots more to discover here. Who or what is inside the other toys? Are they employees or are they something else? What about the mysterious death screens that we see each time we die? What are they trying to tell us? If people are inside of toys, then what about the prototype? Is it someone important, or is it just a random collection of people? And probably the biggest question of all, who are we in relation to all of this? I suspect that I may have figured out our character's name and possible role in the company, but answers to that and more will have to wait for next time, just because I have a few other things that I want to double check inside the game first. So make sure you pack that subscribe button to guarantee that you see our second part of Chapter 2's coverage when it comes out here in a week or two. And until then, remember, it's all
just a
game theory. Thanks. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm not gonna really comment just yet on anything, but I think we're getting somewhere with watching these videos. I think I'm starting to understand Poppy Playtime a lot more. It's a lot more terrifying than what I've been experiencing. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, next time I hop on there, I'm gonna be terrified because I gotta go into the school as well. Oh yeah, no. No! I already know there's a big bad waiting for me. If you like this video, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Hype the video up. Support your brother. If you're new here, subscribe. Don't be a stranger. Subscribe, join the family. We are on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We will hit that mark. We will hit 2,000 subscribers. I feel it. I believe it. I have faith in us. With all that being said, peace and love. Stay blessed. Yami out.